To all who come, welcome.
Disney is a time machine that takes us back,
connects us together,
and shows us that not even wishing upon a star ever gets old.
Now come sit with your friends, Jonelle,
Sean,
and Megan as we deep dive into the heart of Disney.
Now we're recording.
All right, we'll do that again.
I just realized I, Megan, am a connoisseur of all things Haunted Mansion, and today we are talking about the final of the trilogy, the most newest Haunted Mansion. I'm here with your host, your ghost host, Jonelle, Sean, and of course me, Megan. Let's say hello to the people.
I'm not saying
Hold
hello
up.
to the people.
Thank you.
Give a round of applause for Megan.
That
She
was
is
a
jazzed.
solid golf clap.
Oh, that was?
That's how a golf clap was.
No, it's like...
It's... Oh, okay. But anyways. No. Megan's all jazzed up because it's Haunted Mansion, the best Haunted Mansion.
It's my favorite time of year. My
I was-
hyperfixation can go into public and people won't stare at me like I'm a crazy lady.
I was also going to say this is the most terrifying of the Haunted Mansion movies.
Yes, by far.
I think this movie did a great job of balancing the humor and the horror.
Is it Danny DeVito?
Yes.
Yes.
Love him.
I always
doesn't?
thought his character was really weird in this movie.
It is.
See, he kind of fits really well. Like, I watched all of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and he definitely kind of brought that same Danny DeVito energy into this. So it kind of worked out pretty well.
See, I won't lie. I kind of felt like that Danny DeVito in this movie was just kind of. I know Jane, like. Why can I all of a sudden not think of her name?
Jane Seymour, the only one he truly loved. Rude.
Wrong person beheaded.
Sixth musical reference.
No,
What are you talking about?
gal who plays Leota.
Oh, yeah. Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis, yes. But I feel like they tried to have Danny DeVito as like another name in the movie. Like, you know how like a lot of movies they try to have like
Well, what's his name
Ariana
that
Grande,
was
Cynthia
in Bird?
I thought you were gonna say the fact that he played Lightning McQueen.
Oh, and I was also gonna say the museum.
Night Museum.
Yeah.
But no, Danny DeVito, his character just kind of felt off. Like I feel like they didn't really need him. Like they could have done the research into like.
Oh, he's definitely not a needed character, but I kind of like the fact that he's in there because it adds, like, what I mean by him adding energy of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is
'Cause I've never seen that.
it is. I don't think you two would really be a fan of it because, not gonna lie, it's kind of like a dumbass skit where. Like, this show was originally created, and I've listened to their podcast, but like this show was originally created just out of sheer dumbness.
Yeah, I wouldn't like it.
Yeah. And so Danny DeVito is just like either crazy and weird or drunk and weird.
Okay, listen. My honest thoughts on Danny DeVito's character is there is always that one person, especially in the history, like nerdum, who doesn't need to be there, but it has all the facts. I am saying that as the person who in this group is the nerd of like the Haunted Mansion. And it's always some old guy with a bunch of like ancient like maps that are musty and like they are the weirdos that everyone's like, oh my gosh, Tom is crazy, but he knows a lot about like the World War II, like things that happened in the cemetery, and they always find their way into the adventures. And like, you're right, we don't need him, but like if you've ever gone on a history trip, trust me, you have one of those. I am that person, okay?
In this case, though, Danny DeVito is the person where they try and heist against him to gather all his shit, and then they realize he still has something important to him, and they're like, God damn it, we can't get rid of him.
Again, it's me, okay?
I mean, yeah, like they tried to be like nice to him while also like needing his stuff because they're like, oh, you're gonna have like an open heart surgery. Yeah, you don't have to come. We'll just take the stuff. Like they tried to save him the heart attack, but
Listen, we all know that friend who is stubborn and will literally go against like their best wishes and do dumb things.
yeah. So I have a question for you,
That one
Janelle.
time you broke your arm skateboarding right before a big track meet.
So
Yeah. I'm the dumbass out of this group.
can I tell you something that I know Megan was probably gonna bring up, but I'm gonna beat her to bringing it up. So this movie, the latest Haunted Mansion, which came out in 2023, the Muppets Haunted Mansion, and the Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion, the main mansion that we see in all three of them, have all been styled in the same way. Did you know that that is specifically Disneyland's Haunted Mansion? And that's the other mansion they go to for Crump, the guy that's like the evil ghost. That's Disney World's Haunted Mansion.
Wow.
I
Right?
remember watching this movie and like literally screaming, "It's like a theater! They're Disney Haunted Mansion! Shut
Me and her were just like, oh, we know what that is.
You don't understand. When it comes to Haunted Mansion, I don't know why. It's like I'm usually like a very patient, very calm person. I go crazy.
Honey, I think they got that after the last 2 weeks.
What? Me? No, never.
You're getting a full episode of Megan that you guys never see.
We see this all the time, but like,
It's harder for me to bring it out on camera.
the thing is like, she wasn't the biggest fan of the Eddie Murphy one, and like the Muppets one is great and all, but it's still the Muppets, so it was like half good. But she absolutely loves this movie.
I can tell you why too. It brings all the lore. Sorry, was a fan of Matt Pat for a long time.
I got you. The
Thank you.
I do
Thank
it way
you.
better than she does.
I can't. But
Lore?
it brings like the lore of like several of like the like actual ghosts of the haunted mansion, the like ideas of the past haunted mansions, and like it brings it all together in this delectable like soup with scares and fun and like heart, surprisingly. And every time I watch it, I'm like, those good haunted mansion vibes. Like, there's a reference and there's a reference. Everyone gets a reference.
See, something I like about this movie, and we're gonna have like, this is like me working my way towards like the nitty gritty stuff, like where we get to like the wholesome conversations. Like,
Or Megan hyperfixating for like 3 hours straight.
well, so we've had conversations about how like Disney has had come under a lot of fire,
Yeah.
and how they're like, Disney keeps trying to do all this wishy-washy mental health talk, and trauma, all of those types of things that people don't like.
And Kanto. They're like, how dare Abuela? How dare they? Show Lightning McQueen almost dying. How dare they?
But like, I really like how they kind of address it in this movie. Like at the end, where the guy was basically willing to sacrifice himself and stuff for them, and how he was like saying like, Crump, the Hatbox Ghost, is like, you're right. They can't make me feel better, and like really bringing out his grief of like in his like depressive thoughts, and seeing that like turn around and stuff, and be like, well, they can help me stop you, basically, like, you know, that moment and stuff. And I don't know, I really liked how that was addressed. Like, it was just an underlying detail to the character, a core part of the character.
His name is Ben, by the way.
Yeah. And I really like how they were able to have the development in a way that played into the story in a very unique way, because he literally just stalled for time in a very distracting way.
Honestly, here's my thoughts on the Haunted Mansion as like a movie series, right? You can't really you can't do ghosts without talking about morality and without talking about a little bit of like something that I love deeply, and it's like philosophy and morality and what happens to like souls that perish. And I like to think about this a lot. And like Disney like kind of put their butt on the line for this, because like they literally talk about like what happens when people die, and they have like the ghost winks, which I think is just really sweet.
Realistically, like I'm surprised it took us this long to hit the afterlife talk. Just saying.
Yeah.
But no, you bring up a good point of like Disney really went out on a limb here, because you're talking something that has a lot of spirituality wrapped around itself, and like a lot of like Christian nationalism would see something like this and think that it's a very unchristian movie.
Okay.
Here we go, Donnell.
Like, obviously, we know I'm a Christian at this point, but me and Justin spent some time talking about this, just like how annoyed we are with extreme Christian ideology, like the culture of it.
That's why I specifically say Christian nationalists, because it's the same people that have been giving Disney flack for some of his
Yeah.
movies, the extremism, that type of stuff.
And we're really kind of annoyed with those people because, like, it doesn't show the. Man, okay. Every time you look at data, man, this just shows I'm a numbers person. Anyways, anytime you look at data and you're looking at something political, you can always change the numbers to skew in your favor. And that is one of those things that skew things in favor, is because they're looking at a small group of Christians. And I'm just like, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it.
But like, again, like to Megan's point, like there is a level of Disney went out on a limb with how they address the afterlife in this movie, especially when you think about the cultural center of New Orleans, which half Catholic, half Presbyterian.
Oh my gosh, can I talk about it? Can I talk
Yes.
about Oh my gosh,
Yes.
okay. So
Educate
New Orleans
us.
is really interesting because it was originally a French port, right? From my understanding of like history. So historians, correct me in the comment section below. So it was originally like a French port, and French. So basically, there was like two sides of it, right? There was like the Catholic side and the Protestant side, and you could tell who was who because when they were buried, Catholics were buried above ground in like these very specific ways, and Protestants were buried below ground. And so in Louisiana, where this all takes place in New Orleans, when it floods, like this, the city of New Orleans is below sea level, right? So when it floods, the Protestants' bodies would bang up against like their tomb, right? And so like there was like
That's kind of terrifying.
right? I learned this on a tour. I also learned that like you can't like film in the cemeteries in New Orleans anymore because there was this film that happened where like basically there was this guy who was high as beep like molesting statues, and the only people since then who were able to do it was Disney, because technically they were just like taking photos of it and animating inside of it. So like people aren't allowed to like film for movies or TV shows within like there. Also, fun fact, Nicolas Cage also had like a tomb there.
I'm just confused on how you molest a tombstone.
Well, like you have to understand that like these were like
I'll explain it later.
it was like like there was like sculptures along with it. So you have like your traditional like rest in peace like pillows that you see at like Hobby Lobby or whatever. But like these were like intricate, like they would have like statues of like angels. They were like above ground.
I was like, was there just like a whole bunch of statues of angels and stuff?
I mean, yes, but like the way that they did it was they cremated ashes. So what would happen is, let's say Sean dies. Blah. His body would be put inside this tomb where it took like a year or something. I can't remember like the exact, but basically due to like weather and stuff, his body would like cremate and like turn into basically ashes, and they would be put with like basically like mass ashes of like the entire Crawford family, and the next person would like go into a specific slot, and then when they were already cremated be put in this other slot. So that's why Catholics were above ground, Protestants were below it. Does that make sense? There's like a different sort of like way that they were buried.
I'm Also, just sorry, this is now just making me very curious about the.
Please ask me all the questions. This is why I'm here.
If we went to the graveyard today, would bodies from Protestants still be bouncing?
I think that they changed the way that they did Protestant bodies after they found out why like there was banging on the graves. I don't think they bury Protestants like that anymore.
Where the Protestants are buried, though.
They okay, so like they are buried, but at some point those bodies decayed, right? So like this was like so New Orleans has like this really deep history and like so the way we know that like the Protestants were banging on the graves was from like excerpts from like specific times back then because like people in New Orleans like to write and they were kind of gossipy and especially about like the other side, right?
Is this where the origins of Bloody Mary also possibly came from?
Actually, no, that comes from London. That comes from England because there was a war between like the basically the siblings of like and half siblings of King Henry VIII. So basically, Mary. Let's see, I can't remember. She was either Catholic or Protestant, but she would kill like the other side, right? So if you were a Protestant, you would be killed by her.
I believe Mary was.
I'm pretty sure she was Catholic.
Because she was Catherine of Aragon's daughter.
Yeah, so she would basically kill Protestants, and they would call her Bloody Mary because she killed a lot of people.
Well, then.
Yeah, fun facts.
How dark history is.
Yeah.
But like, talking about like New Orleans though, like I feel like, oh sorry,
And that's also why, like, because of like the weird burial stuff and like how Protestants were buried in the ground and Catholics were like otherwhere, and like there were so many like Louisiana was like this huge just like mixing pot of people, and that's why they have like cool food like jambalaya and gumbo and stuff like that. That's also why it's like considered one of the most like haunted places like in the world, is because like there were so many like people who were coming in and out with so many different cultures that like it said that like spirits haunt there.
I think the culture of New Orleans,
It's so cool.
it's so cool, so interesting, because if you think about like all the different aspects of like what's part of the culture, like
Jazz.
Jazz.
yes,
Mardi
that's the
Gras.
holy heaven.
Mardi Gras.
You have jazz, but you have jazz. Like, I think I might be wrong in saying this, but to me, New Orleans is like jazz central. Like,
Well,
music, music in this movie is like amazing because it sounds like pure, authentic New Orleans jazz.
I was like, every time, and like, this is why I said jazz, is because it's a stereotype, you know? Obviously, there was jazz in other places during the time, but it was more associated to New Orleans, and I think that was related to the Prohibition era.
I don't know about that, but the New Orleans jazz has like a very distinct style to it that causes a lot of love around because it's that very pumped up Dixieland type of jazz.
Well, I think New Orleans just had a different opportunity too, that black men and women were able to have there, and they had more freedom.
They did.
But like continuing on like with like the other aspects of the culture, like this is also like what's also considered to be like the culture hub of voodoo.
It's true.
And then when you throw voodoo into that mix of Catholics versus the Protestants,
It is so much fun. Yeah, I've been.
like it's such
so much
a
fun.
vibrant community. I've always
That's
always
where I saw, fun fact, Usher for free. I saw Usher in concert in New Orleans for free, and that was like the one of the coolest.
I need to have you guys watch the originals from Vampire Diaries.
I have always wanted to go to New Orleans
So good.
for so long. And this movie just amplifies it because I feel like they demonstrated the culture.
We need to watch
so
Princess and
well.
the Frog soon.
Yeah, we do have to watch Princess and the Frog soon.
More New Orleans, please.
Hint, hint.
But like, yeah. But going back to like
Sorry.
the afterlife conversation too, Sorry, this is gonna be like Tangent City for you.
Yeah.
The whole episode.
Yep.
But like
You can see all my loves. It's fine.
the like afterlife conversation, like how do you react to like seeing like so in the Eddie Murphy version, we don't get a lot of explanation around all the other ghosts being there and so on.
Yeah, we do.
Not really.
Yeah, we do because it like the whole thing was like that.
It was a curse, yes, but
Yeah.
that doesn't tell us why everyone died. Or how like it was ambiguous. Unlike this one where they literally said they performed so many seances where there was 930 something ghosts and
No.
brought in.
Listen, I hear you, but I'm like 80% positive that like what ended up happening with Mr. Gracie, which is by the way named after an Imagineer. Fun fact. That's why Gracie keeps turning up as one of the main Imagineers. At that party, I'm pretty sure like the butler killed a bunch of like the people surrounding it too.
I
That
must
was
be
our theory. That's what we
stupid.
talked about.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
So I'm looking at a map. Sorry. Geography is not my thing. And we will learn this over and over again. I think it's okay. So I'm looking at where Louisiana, New Orleans is. And
oh, on the
I think the area that I'm confusing it with is possibly Cincinnati, Ohio.
Those are in two very different areas.
Well, okay, where is the current place with all the, like, not Skid Row on Hollywood, but the other well-known zombie row?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Homeless communities of people using trank.
No idea.
No idea.
You expect us to know way too much about that type of stuff.
Well, Joe now Googles
But no, what was I saying?
about like how the
It's
spirit-
Philadelphia.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, so essentially, okay, sorry, this is why it came as a cross in my head. I like think Philadelphia and New Orleans are somehow pretty close to each other.
No.
And so this is like why I've like kind of avoided traveling there at the moment. See, this is why geography is not my thing. Anyways, essentially, homeless people who choose to have addictions of drugs and more specifically are having a hard time with heroin addiction leading to a fentanyl addiction because that's the new drug. Okay, so they mix fentanyl and horse tranquilizer together,
Which is a bad idea.
and they call it trank. And then not only, if you guys are wondering why I know so much about this, is just because it's horrible. Like, the whole situation is horrible and I feel really bad for the people, but at the same time I kind of want to hear how they got to there and like see if there are people who are making it out and how they are making it out to make improvements, because our drug crisis is really bad in the United States, and Philadelphia and Hollywood are the two places right now that like are more well known on the news, I feel like. Yes.
Bring this up because you thought New Orleans was next to Philadelphia, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm like, how the hell did we get here?
Nope, they're not. By the way, people who don't live in the United States, they're like
Philadelphia's like up north.
And this is
Canada.
why I procrastinated on
New Orleans
visiting New Orleans.
is by Mexico. For the record, it's more near Cuba.
Mexico and Cuba are very far apart, my dear.
But like it's on the like southern.
It's southeast.
Yeah, it's
the
southeast.
south-
Louisiana is apparently near Florida.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
But,
did not know that.
But like compared to like Philadelphia, which is closer to
You're-
Canada,
You're not wrong.
Louisiana is closer to like Mexico and Cuba.
Whenever I hear think like close to Mexico, I'm thinking of like not north to south, but like east to west.
Yeah, no, I mean like in hemisphere wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why I was confused though, because I'm just like, wait, sea level?
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I thought they were in Ohio.
You can always tell where Louisiana is because it actually looks like an L.
Yeah.
Look, Louisiana's just a state to me with wait. We're gonna learn how bad at geography I am because I was about to ask, is the Mississippi in Louisiana?
You know that meme of Friends where Phoebe's trying to like teach Joey French, and
Je m'appelle.
and she's like, je m'appelle, je m'appelle, mi papou. I feel like that's like us right now. We're like Ohio, Louisiana, Ohio, Philadelphia, New Orleans, separate, all Ohio. We need to make this short.
Oh
So we're
You're with me
learning
on this,
how-
right?
Never trust me on a geography test. I don't know anything.
Oh my god.
This is why I need to visit the world so that way I can actually learn geography by being there.
Do you ever feel like you're being haunted?
no.
Yeah.
Actually, yes, I am by my own regrets and shame, but like not by an actual person.
My dead father.
Oh.
Yeah, okay.
I feel like the people in my life who died don't care enough about me to have haunted. To haunt me in the
Okay, but like I'm gonna ask like the honest question. Like, where is your stance on ghosts?
Okay. Here,
Oh, we've had many conversations about this.
I'm opening up the doors on this. Like, this is like the perfect movie to have these conversations.
Oh, God,
I
you're
feel
gonna.
like I'm gonna go first because I feel like yours is more complex than mine.
Yeah.
I don't want to just be like, I'm gonna take the spotlight. It's because I know yours will like take a little bit longer.
I'm gonna get a drink of water. I'm gonna need it.
Hey,
Can you give
get
me
me
one,
something
too?
to do.
I thought you would.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, so my stance on ghosts is I hope that they're not real. Because I'm gonna be honest, I hope when I die, there's just like nothing. I hope that like I can just rest forever and there's like nothing that I have to worry about, right? And I also hope for like the people who like suffered really horrible things that like they can finally be at peace. It would make me so angry to like be a ghost and who died doing something tragic and then like having to like live in the place where tragedy happened.
I mean, we've talked a lot about the afterlife.
Yeah.
And this kind of like leads into our afterlife theories that we have. And I like to think that ghosts who are I like to think that ghosts are real. I like to think that ghosts being on in our more present world is a purgatory for them until they are ready to enter heaven.
Okay, so how would you define purgatory?
So, my understanding is that sin is essentially a deviation away from God.
Okay.
It is
Away from the Christian God.
yeah.
So just making sure that like all of us are on the same page.
Yes, it is a spectrum of, your belief system is not as pure as it should be with God.
Okay. Okay.
And I think that looks different for everyone too. But I think when it comes to your final day of judgment at death, when people talk about hell, I don't think there is like a physical hell.
like a physical place.
Yeah.
Described in like Dante's Inferno where there's like a physical place that people go.
Yeah. I like to think that the world that we live in is because this is the most imperfect world filled with sin. Like in the Christian belief, this world is filled with sin. So theoretically,
For those who don't know what sin is, it's basically like bad. Like sinning can be anything from like committing adultery to murder to like lying to a friend. Like it's just like bad things that you consciously do versus like, oh, I bought a tomato and it accidentally contained pesticides. Like,
yeah.
and it's a choice that you make to do bad.
And like how it's kind of taught is that just like you can have a variance of sin. And
Like murder isn't the same as like me lying to Jonelle that like I stole her pink socks.
yeah, and I think for people who tend to live their life more away from what their like because I think the human soul has generally intentions to seek calm, clarity, peace, hope, a lot of those things that we want. And a lot of times, we see it through, and it's commonly known as the seven sins, but like we see people be lustful trying to find love, so they will have a lot of sex in that way. There's also people who tend to are greedy with money because they seek power, and a lot of this could also stem from the fact that they felt they never had power, or some part in their life where they thought they needed to go to these extremes to gain whatever self they are trying to find, and in return they have become the worst versions of themselves, and they lived their life as the worst version of themselves and never seeked to actually take care of them. And so Ghost is being a purgatory of watching the world pass by until Final Judgment Day, in my opinion.
Final Judgment Day, or is it like to you? Because I'm asking specifically about beliefs of Jonelle, or is it like until like they have like not like repentance, just like, oh yeah, I did something wrong, but like to like and like not undo, but like to serve off those. Like if I were to like commit murder to like help like in some spiritual way as being a ghost, like someone to like find like the body or like whatever like the God equivalent is it like until God is like, let me judge you, or is it until like they work off those sins
So
according to you?
yeah, and gosh, I think I have very different beliefs of Christianity to other Christians, which is why I try it is very complicated. Oh, you're fine. But I like to think that God is truly a forgiving God, and that because in the Bible there's also a part where it says if you die once, you live twice. If you die twice, you live once, which is essentially saying, like you can live one life on earth, and if you choose not to follow me, then you do not have a life with me, or you can live a life with me and you only die on earth. But I like to think that God has also mentioned that they are a gracious God, and that when it comes to the Final Judgment Day, which people keep theorizing as of this week, it was apparently Tuesday.
I think that was last Tuesday.
Yeah.
Something like
that. But, that the Final Judgment Day is coming.
Yeah, it's been happening since like the Crusades and like
Y2K.
Yeah, it's like it's been happening for hundreds of years. It's going to continue happening, by the way.
Look,
See,
I don't think Final Judgment Day is going to happen until our solar system is finally collapsed, because we all know that when a sun dies, it theoretically turns into a white supernova or
Not you.
or a black hole,
Cat.
and sucks in all the planets with a black hole.
so
I like to think that is Judgment Day, is when our star dies and our creation of the universe has now ended, and that is when God has made its final judgment and brings everyone home. So I like to think ghosts are the people who have died twice and are stuck here until our solar system is also dead.
Okay, what do you think, Sean? Because Jonelle has given her opinion. I have given mine.
So
Your turn.
for me, and I want just so like everyone is like fully aware, I hold a very, very different view around spirituality than Megan and Jonelle. And a lot of that comes from like Megan and Jonelle were both raised Christian.
We were.
They've grown up Christian, grown up part of the church. Megan may not consider herself a Christian anymore. I think at most she may consider herself agnostic.
It depends on the day, depends on the mood, depends on who I'm talking to, what's going through my head. But like, I feel like my spiritual journey is like I'm still thinking it over, so I don't really have a title.
But Megan,
And I'm Lutheran, so
yeah, you're Christian through and through. Megan's grew up Christian, literally.
Studied theology, Christian theology,
You're
so
a
I know
theology
a little
major.
bit what I'm talking about.
I did not. My family did not really discuss the topic. There was a period of time where I considered myself Christian, but I have also like learned a little bit more about like other belief philosophies and things like that. And so I hold a much more diverse perspective compared to a more Bible centric perspective like you two have. And
see, I like learning other religions though.
I think it's very interesting, and I feel like there's something that one of my theology professors said, where there is nuggets of wisdom regardless of who's saying it. It's just about like sifting through and trying to find it.
But so when I look at the concept of ghosts, I am a little perplexed a little bit because I don't like the idea of a ghost being a tortured soul. I don't like the idea of a ghost being a person who who's kind of just waiting.
So like
We've also talked about this once where it's either like a ghost or they are reincarnated back on Earth.
So when I have done some research and learning into the concept of like what Wicca or like witches tend to like, what their belief system really looks like, contrary to popular belief, it has nothing to do with a devil. There are even some people that consider themselves Christian witches. And the idea around being a witch in that kind of spiritual sense is that it's you working in tune with the like universe and the energy that the universe provides.
Yeah.
If you're a Christian witch, you may be thinking of that universe as like reference to God and Jesus and those things. And so when I look at a ghost and what it is trying to like embody, I like to think of it as the energy that a person has, like my own energy, your own energy, going back to the universe in a way that you can interact with people and things. And when I think about even current events and you look at history itself, you can, like, to me, kind of make sense why just everything's going to hell when you look at like you think in that kind of perspective. But I don't like the idea of a ghost being being a ghost isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like you see,
This is the second caveat of my like belief.
let me finish my sentence real quick, because like when you look at the ghosts in the movie, I understand this is a movie, but like the ghosts in this movie, like they said, like, they don't want to leave. They're living in this mansion. They're having fun. They're living their afterlife. Like, and that's nothing bad. There's nothing like there's nothing saying that they're like tortured souls. There's nothing saying they're waiting for final judgment. They're just an embodiment of their own energy that they had when they were living, basically.
Yeah. This is kind of where the second caveat comes in because I think you could have like more physical ghosts, but then there's also like spiritual ghosts.
like okay, so when you're talking physical ghosts, are we thinking like apparitions, like I'm thinking like the classic ghost story of like, oh, I was sitting, I was walking down a hallway and I saw like a woman who was like that you could see through wearing like a white dress sort of thing, versus like, oh, I felt the presence of my great great grandmother sort of thing.
Yeah, you're exactly pointing out the two things. So I like to think that those who haven't found whatever version of heaven,
Let's just
or
like the good, like the peaceful
internal peace.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who didn't find internal peace. Because I like to also think that everything has a push and a pull with energy.
Okay.
And Like we see that in chemical reactions. Everything is a pretty solid equation that
Well, and
1 + 1 = 2.
Unless you're in theology, then 1 + 1 + 1 = 1.
well, and like one of Newton's laws of physics was every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
Exactly. And that's the other part is I think about physics and it's just like I find it very hard to believe that we are here as individuals who have our own opinions, our own thoughts, and a lot of other things. And then when we die, that just goes away. I have a very hard time believing that. But I also have a hard time believing that everyone goes to heaven right away, because there comes to the question of like, does Hitler go to heaven?
Literally, I was literally thinking that.
Yes, exactly. So then there's like, does Hitler go to heaven? I don't know that question.
Stalin? But like, what about Jane Goodall? Does she go to heaven right away? Because she like,
And like, as we learn that like their point of view at that time, not saying that it was correct, but they had a lens or perception in their life that led them to making these decisions on Earth. And I think that they're forced to kind of watch the Earth pass by to realize the overarching goal of, as a spirit, as your individual, it's not about the supremacy. It's not, you know, it's about everyone. And that the presence, sorry, I'm wrapping this up here, but when you feel a presence of someone like grandma, I do believe that is a spirit who has temporarily, you know, come down to visit you to pass on a sense of feeling that you're not alone. Because there is also the Holy Spirit, you know.
When you like talk about like people like Hitler, like, you know, the bads of the bads and like the concept of heaven, I think that's where I really struggle with the idea of like a heaven or a hell, because it brings up this idea of an overarching morality above our own understanding, and it makes it hard to justify a overarching morality like that when you also look at like the Christian God, which based off of the Bible is extremely forgiving, is a gracious God, a loving God. And so when you have themes like that, it makes it hard, because now you're judging, because now you're having to try and like, wait, there's a God that's able to forgive Hitler and still say he gets to go to what would be considered, I know you're gonna smile at this, the good place
my favorite
and
TV
stuff.
show.
It's like, what's the point of the theoretical like hell or bad place? Like the question of morality really makes it such a strong
Yes.
Okay, I have a few thoughts. Okay, let me take my theology degree. So, hell has often been like dramatized by this book called Dante's Inferno, which was written by a man called Dante. And it was basically like a journal where he basically just kind of like bounced ideas with himself through poetry, you know, because he was cool like that. So a lot of the things that we think of Dante's Inferno of like people screaming in hell is actually from like this one guy talking to himself in like written form that people were like, I like that. That's inspiring. So what I learned about really hell is just like a place where there's an absence of God.
Yeah.
It doesn't come down necessarily to like morality of like, was this a good person or was this a bad person? It comes down to, do they want to be with God or do they want to be away from God?
And
with that being said, asterisk here, that's if you don't believe in predestination. If you believe in predestination, God already decided whether you're going to hell or not. And you just kind of just go wherever God decided you were going to go before you were even born. The other thing I wanted to say before Jonelle continues is recently I have come into information that 3 of my family members passed away in the last few years. I don't really have contact with them. I kind of just stumbled upon this like realization, and I am now faced with like the questions of where do I think they went, right? One of them I didn't know very well. One of them was unfortunately very sick. Like they were losing their memory rapidly. And the other one I had a really touchy like relationship with. And do I think they're still around? I hope not. Especially one of them I have a feeling his death is a lot darker. I hope that they are at peace wherever that they are, but like also some of them caused major pain. And so the question is like in death, do I hope that they learn from like their wrongdoings? And I don't know. Because would I want them to like look at my life and be like, "Oh, I effed up." Right? But like I'd rather just them not be here. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna like wrap this up with like going on to that. Relatively, the span of the Earth has been going on for how many years?
A very, very long time.
How many people have lived on this Earth? And considering the lifespan of Earth and the lifespan of a human, our lifespan is so minimal compared to the lifespan of the universe, of Earth. And so I'm still having a hard time wrapping around God forgiving someone like Hitler. Don't get me wrong. I still question that a lot, but I have to look at it in terms of the bigger view, looking over the mountain or on top of the mountain of the valley and the beauty that comes with looking at the valley above. And when you look deep in the trenches of the valley, yeah, there's some pretty ugly things in there. There's peaks of, beauty and a lot of other things.
Laughing at Jonelle. My cat is just being kind of funny. I just want to say that now before people are like, Megan, why are you being to Jonelle in the comments?
I don't think you guys are ever being mean to me, except for the time I accidentally fall asleep. Just kidding. That's actually just me being mean with myself. But, yeah, me and Megan have gone into a lot of conversations about this and the afterlife and death. It's just like, I like to think that the soul is also going to have a counteraction somewhere within the universe, because I like to try and tie the Bible as close to sorry Sean if I'm like freaking you out. No. Okay. I like to try and tie the Bible as close as I can to historical events that have actually happened on the earth. And so that would be like in the beginning. Okay, so we know that planets are generally created by
Big Bang.
Yeah, the Big Bang Theory, but then
Not the show. It was created by Sheldon Cooper.
but then also there's gravitational force, which then spinned a whole bunch of material into one another that then formed these spheres, and then Earth.
Fears, not fears.
And then we were left with a gas ball, and then somehow we got hydrogen, and then somehow humans formed, and they're dinosaurs, and there's like all these microbiology things that happen. And, we're never meant to really judge God's timeline. And so when people say Judgment Day is coming on Tuesday, I don't believe you. Okay, no one knows. The Bible does not say final judgment day is this day. And I hate that the most, is that people take the Bible literal proof. And it's just like,
So
you have to take it in the context. And Megan, you are also probably able to agree with this, but you have to take it into context of how the Bible was created, how the history was made for the Bible, and who wrote it. And that book was created over years and millennia.
If you have questions about Christian theology, Sean, who went to a Christian college, Jonelle, who was grown up in the church, and I, who studied Christian theology, would love to answer your questions.
Honestly, yeah, that'd be like a.
We all went to a private Christian university here.
I was a Christian theology minor. Megan was a Christian theology major, and like
I have no Christian major or minor.
you took classes.
Yes, I did take classes.
It was required outside private university.
But,
Yes.
We're gonna pass that.
So I have two things.
Yes, I was like, let's get me off of this predestination.
I had one thing. It was like a small side thing I was gonna bring up. Oh yeah, I remember. Like was like how people were saying like the rapture's happening Tuesday. I saw this really funny Instagram video of this guy that decided to take opportunity, and he got an inflatable doll, filled it with helium,
Oh my god!
dressed it like Jesus to try and mess with people. So that way, on that day that people said the rapture was going to happen, he was going to let it go and have it look like Jesus floating in the air.
The problem was the balloon itself was too heavy.
The
So
doll was too heavy for the helium to lift it.
See, I like to think that Jesus is going to come back to earth, but this is where my counteraction of the soul comes into place, and that there has to be some type of like,
So,
okay, we gotta go back to the
Equation.
haunted mansion.
back to the
yes,
haunted
we
mansion.
need to go back to it because I could
While we
theorize.
were talking, I was really thinking about all three haunted mansions.
This one is obviously the creme de la creme.
But there was something I noticed that is a continuing theme through all three movies.
There's always a woman that's screwed. So it's true.
The trunk?
No, so it was most put up front a little bit in the Muppets one. But if you think about it, in the first Haunted Mansion movie, the Eddie Murphy one, the whole thing was that these people were cursed because of this one person not being with the one they loved. They didn't know the truth of what happened. And they spent the rest of their life suffering and not living. In the Muppets one, this guy, the Great MacGuffin, died because he was unable to face his fears and continue to live his life. In this movie, the ghosts are there because Gracie, once again, struck because his loved one died, and he kept on trying to get her back, and ended up poisoning himself and dying and stuff because of Crump, the Hatbox Ghost, like talking to him to get him to die and whatnot. And it dawned on me while you guys were talking that like the continuing thing of all these movies of the Haunted Mansion, and this kind of emanates into the Haunted Mansion ride itself, to don't stop living life out of fear. Don't focus on the loss that you have, but continue to live your life. It's like that same.
Don't live life out of fear.
But like you all hear like when you like watch movies or TV shows about people who are grief stricken, that like they lose their loved one, or like parents whereas like they lose like their spouse, and they're like it's been like 10 years since they've been in the dating game. What's the one thing everyone says?
You have to move on.
You have to move on. They wouldn't want you to be sad. They would want you to be happy with your life.
I have a friend right now, and I think they watch this podcast, but man, I get that from a lot. Like, I hear that from a lot from them, and like,
I find it interesting that
it's so annoying. Like, I just like quit being a Debbie Downer, dude. And I'm like, just go out and date. Because here's my issue. Sorry, I'm gonna like throw him under the bus as a quick tangent. But his issue is that he has like these strong feelings for women who these women probably already have determined who they want to have a relationship with. And granted, like, he's on the autism spectrum. What? No, not that one. But you know, he comes into relationships with these people who already have people that they probably want to be in relationships with, and you know, he falls in love with this person, and I think he just really likes. I think he has a good sense of judgment of assessing someone's personality and someone's like just finding different common grounds to enjoy every single person. And but as people are, you know, we are moving on in our own lives. But anyways, essentially the whole point was just like he complains all the time because he's always rejected by these women. And well, I think they're rejecting them just because they already knew what they wanted and they decided. And then he's just like, well, I'm sitting here, no one's coming for me. And I'm like, you have to go after them. And he's like, well, I've done that. And I'm like, you need to keep doing it though.
Well, and something that like with bringing up these three themes and looking at like how the movies finish off with like the protagonists, I find it really interesting how over time, like the protagonists, each one solve the issue, but with each lesson that needs to be learned, the way it's framed, it's very distinct of the time period. The reason I say this is because look at Eddie Murphy's. It was very love focused, very much on I want to be with my true love, a very Romeo and Juliet type story, old timey vibes. And Eddie Murphy's the main character, and he learns like learns to like more appreciate his wife and his kids and stuff like that. Very family or traditional values. The Muppets one is different. It's a lot more geared towards kids to like
Face your fears.
face your fears. You don't have to be the great gonzo to be a great gonzo, you know? Very much a you're fine who you are type deal.
Like face your fears, but also you don't have to like be someone you're not, sort of thing.
Yeah, like you're perfect the way you are type deal. Which even though that movie came out shortly before the newest Haunted Mansion, it still is like very reminiscent of like our era going through their teens of like it's okay to be who you are, accept yourself for who you are.
Yeah.
And then you get to this Haunted Mansion, the greatest Haunted Mansion, where like I said at the beginning of us talking, like Yale Gracie in this one could not get over. He couldn't accept his grief. He continuously fought it, tried to undo it. And Ben, we see how grief-stricken he is. His life is terrible. He's a drunk. And at the end of the movie, it's him like accepting his trauma, processing his trauma, letting his emotions out. He's no longer in denial.
Man, if we had a sponsorship, BetterHelp would be amazing.
But like, you see what I mean? Where it's like, it's really interesting looking at, I know Megan really wants to go, but I really want to finish my thought because this is a really great thought in film analysis. Like,
Hi, BB.
the three movies and the time periods that they came out and the lessons learned out of them really shows the growth of the film industry, but showing how it's like similar messages conveyed in different ways. Megan, go.
I love how films about death really show what we value about life. Like in the first Haunted Mansion with Eddie Murphy, what they valued was relationships and the loss of that. In the second one, it was like the thrill of being alive, right? Because Gonzo is like one is basically an adrenaline addict, and he likes the thrill. He likes being like not like scared, but like stepping into like that space between anxiety and pure joy.
I will say I am an adrenaline junkie, so I understand that.
You are.
Yeah.
And then I feel like with the newest Haunted Mansion, it's about like connection, right? Because like we have two characters that we learn,
and healing.
like, yeah, relationships and healing. But we have two characters we learn at the end of the movie that are really deep in their grief. And one of them, yes, is Ben. But the other one we learn is the child that is with them this entire time. What's
I actually don't remember his name now.
Hold on, hold on.
Boy's name.
Hold on. Travis.
Travis.
We learn that Travis is also struggling with grief of his dad. He hasn't talked about him, but he's really struggling with that. And what ends up saving both Ben and Travis is the connection that they formed together. And it took into literally facing death and facing Crump to realize, like, that is what I really need to find. And what happens at the end of these movies? Gonzo learns that he is great. And he is like, yes, I will just go to like a normal party. Eddie Murphy's like, cool, I'm just going to spend time with my kids and my wife. And then at the end of the third movie, we see that Ben and all of the people who like helped save this mansion come together on like we're assuming the next Halloween to like be together in relationship. And from like the little we see, they've like obviously been in contact for like a while, and they do this regularly. Yeah, and that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, I could probably have us continuing. I would, I would hate to say this, but could we kind of do a fourth Haunted Mansion episode? Just because I could continue on this subject.
Part 2 of
I
like
think, you know what? I say we can go for the Patreon. Have an exclusive on our Patreon.
yes, and I can talk about the other haunted mansions around the world.
I was like, there's just so much
And I
that
feel
we
like-
could go off on
And I
this.
feel like we barely touched the movie, by the way.
Oh gosh, no. It's
So good.
Haunted Mansion is a very complex story. It's weird to think about it as it started as a ride in Disneyland, and it's had 3 different adaptations into movies, but it's so deep in it, not just its lore and filmography, but also like the messaging and the things we can talk about: afterlife, death, purpose of life.
And I mean, like, I personally could talk about the purpose of life for a long time. And I mean, like, mainly because at the moment, we both know I've also been experiencing grief. Because one of my grandmothers had passed away, so I've been dealing with that. And then the year before that was my dog passing away. And then a few years prior to that, found out my biological father went away. So like I've been stuck with like different types of grief within like the past few years. And it's just kind of like, okay, I had a shitty father die. He never wanted to be in my life, and he never gave a shit about me. So I don't know who he is, but all I know is he gave me life.
Yeah.
And then there's the dog who I loved, and then there's my grandma who I love.
Death is such an interesting way to tell a story.
So, if you're interested in hearing us talk about more about the Haunted Mansion,
Please.
check out the video. Is going to be on our Patreon
Please.
The link will be somewhere in the bio, maybe.
somewhere.
Or if you're watching YouTube, there's probably an iCard.
Oh yeah, probably. But anyways, have a good night, friends. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween!
Bye, friends.
Bye, friends.
Bye.